The aim of marketing is to know and understand the customer so well the product or service fits them and sells itself. Peter Drucker. On today's episode, we're talking marketing, and I bring to you a marketing and branding expert who is full of joy and caffeine. She will share with us tips for marketing and growing your business. She also shares with us the start to her own entrepreneurial journey. Welcome to the Stitched for Success podcast, where we are teaching business and life lessons that will help you launch, grow, or scale your creative business. I am Monica Allen, and I'm a wife, mom, daughter, entrepreneur, author, friend, lifelong learner, and host of this podcast. For over 8 years, I was stuck in corporate and dreamt of escaping. Creating a side hustle with just $700 and having taken the leap over 15 years ago, we have since grown multiple six-figure and seven-figure brands. Being an entrepreneur for over 18 years has afforded me many successes and a few failures. I want to share those with you so you can grow and be successful in your business. I am so happy to bring you today's episode because over the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about some essential elements of marketing and branding. Do you know the difference between marketing and branding? I will give you a simple way to think about it. Marketing equals activity or actions you take to get people to your business. Branding is all about experiences or emotions. The emotions your customer experience when they see your logo or come into contact with your brand. How does it make them feel? So in our business, we use Google AdWords. We send out emails to customers or prospects who have joined our email list. We sponsor events occasionally, send out direct mail pieces, or send out promotional products with an order. These are our marketing activities. These are the actions that we are taking to get customers to come to our business, to use our services. Branding is about how your company makes me feel. When it comes to our company and us serving our customer, we want the people who shop with us to have a wonderful experience. We want them to feel like they made the right choice and that their Greek paraphernalia or custom clothing piece is going to elicit the attention they desire. One of the best companies, in my opinion, at branding is Apple. When it comes to Apple, or when Apple comes to my mind, for instance, for those of us who are Apple lovers, we think about their clean aesthetic. And not only does that apply to the iPhone, but it applies to their AirPods, the case that the AirPods are in, and their stores, the way their team members dress. Everything about it just makes you feel like you're on the cutting edge of technology. You're smart and you are efficient. You feel like you've made the right choice. They are very, very good at eliciting strong emotions in their advertising. Now, marketing and branding work in tandem because you may choose not to put forth a particular marketing effort because it does not fit with your brand. Let me give you a really simple example. If you look at Cosmopolitan magazine or Vogue magazine, you're more than likely going to see an ad for a Louis Vuitton bag or Louis Vuitton wallet. But you're not going to see that same ad in, say, Motorsports magazine. It doesn't fit the demographic, and it doesn't fit the luxury of the brand. And don't get me wrong, Motorsports has very nice vehicles that people are racing, but it doesn't fit the demographic. And more importantly, it doesn't fit the luxury of the brand. And if you look even closer at the image or the picture of that Louis Vuitton bag in that magazine, they have taken every step to make sure that that picture elicits luxury. It is going to say and make you feel like it is a statement of luxury. So that's a quick example. This podcast episode is brought to you by Zeus's Closet. Zeus's Closet is one of our companies. We like to say we're like a tattoo shop for your clothes. We provide custom decorated apparel and promotional products for businesses, the movie, TV industry, and for clothing brands. We have helped many people launch their clothing brands over the past few years. If you have a clothing brand or an idea for a brand, we have a 30-point checklist on our website to help you get your clothing brand started. The checklist is really helpful to any business owner getting started. It is the checklist I could have used 18 years ago. You can find it at zeus'scloset.com/checklist. In discussing marketing and branding, I thought it only appropriate that I bring to you a marketing expert, Kelly Hackney the star of Caffeine with Kelly, started her business in December of last year. She brings into her business 10 plus years of marketing experience and works with her clients to create custom and strategic marketing plans to help them be a hero in their story and win with their customers. I am so excited to bring you my interview with Kelly. So, Kelly, I know that you have a marketing branding strategy firm, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it because this is so key, especially being in 2021. A lot of people may have cut their marketing budget, but we know that marketing is essential and extremely important for growing your business and continuing to propel it forward. So, tell me a little bit first about what made you start your business.
Sure, absolutely. And you're 1,000,000% right. Most companies are cutting marketing right now, or some companies, are assuming that sales and marketing are exactly the same. And so they'll keep the salespeople, but get rid of the marketing people. And you can see that time and time again that just doesn't work. But yeah, so I started Caffeine with Kelly actually in December of 2020. So only a few months ago. And I did that because back in September and then many eons before that, I was in corporate 9-to-5 life. And I just realized that I was in an organization that it just didn't fit with me. I was being kind of taught down. I was not my positive, normal self. I was actually told not to collaborate anymore and to tone my positivity down. And that's so authentically me, is to collaborate and love on people. And I was always the person that would run in and say good morning to anybody that I saw because that's just who I am. And so I was told to kind of tone that down, have a more professional voice type thing. Which is also hard because my voice is a little bit high pitched and it's really hard for me to really tone that down. And so when I left my job in September, literally without a plan, I had Caffeine with Kelly as a blog on the side. It was just something little that I had. And then for years before that, prior, I've always had marketing clients as a little small side business. Nothing official, nothing crazy, but some of them would pay me cash. Some of them would pay me in offers. I worked for a gym for a while. And so I was able to go to the gym for free, things like that, some bartering systems. And so when I left my job, it was the most freeing thing I think I had ever done. It was the scariest, but also the most rewarding thing I've ever done for myself. And as a woman, I mean, most people don't do anything for themselves. So for me, it was such a scary thing. And I remember I had my dad in the back of my head, Kelly, don't quit a job without another job, right? Because you don't do that. That's crazy, especially in a society like the one we're in where no one is hiring for marketing. So it was tough, but it was something just mentally I needed to do for myself. And I felt a bigger purpose that I had. And so I quit my job in September. In October, I actually got married. And so then in November, we came back from our honeymoon and I was talking to a mentor of mine because I was applying for a long time and couldn't find anything. And I was talking to a mentor and he asked, are you still working with some marketing clients on the side? Like you always have. And I said, yes, absolutely. That really gives me my inner fire, right? And when I'm in interviews with people, I say, I'm working with clients on the side and, it's kind of keeping my marketing knowledge fresh and key. And so long story short, he said, why don't you take Caffeine with Kelly to the next level? Why are you looking for a job? Why, I don't understand. And I was like, I don't understand either. I actually never really thought about it. And I think I was so scared about needing stability, you need the job, you need a 9-to-5, you need to fit in that cookie cutter society. And so then literally I walked into my husband's office. I said, I have this crazy idea. What do you think? And I told him and he was like, yes, that's what I was going to tell you to do, but you needed to find that by yourself. And I literally just started crying and it was a beautiful moment. And so long story short, here we are today. And I am literally, Monica, every morning I'm wake up with a smile. I'm so excited about what I do. I love my clients. I love getting to serve others with my background knowledge. And it's so lovely. So long story short, that's how Caffeine with Kelly came to be. And on, I guess, the name front, because I'm in a branding strategy sense, I have always had a love of coffee and I've always had a love of Gilmore Girls. And so for me, it's kind of went hand in hand of loving coffee and then also owning a business. It just kind of worked out. And Caffeine with Kelly was just a cute name and some minor alliteration. And so for me, it just kind of worked out and people are loving my brand because it's who I am. And so it really just really fits with me and with my purpose and I like to say that when you feel aligned to your purpose, everyone else can tell. right? Like you, when you talk about why you started your companies, people are like, wow, I can see that. I know it's been a while and I know you've done this and you've done that and you have a podcast and all of this stuff. I'm sure people just see it from your face because you're so passionate about it. And so passion breeds purpose to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Passion does breed purpose. So now that you are a solopreneur, entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges you face though?
Sure. I think some of it, I was listening to a previous podcast of yours with Haley Luckadoo and how you were talking about how you got so lonely. And I really think no one really understands. Like my husband's office is literally right in the next door over in our house. We both work from home, but it's lonely because no one really knows what you're going through until you meet other entrepreneurs that are in a similar cadence or at least have walked the walk and talked the talk. And so for me, I'm trying everything I can to stay on Clubhouse and to connect with people because connection is so important. And so I think that was one of the things is I went from having a giant team that I was messaging all the time, right? And always staying connected with people to me being a team of one. And it's really just me and my dog and my cats hanging out. And so I think that's one thing that is like an instant struggle where it was like, all to none. And I'm a chatty person. I love people. And so that I think another struggle was you need to learn and adapt and grow at such a fast pace where what I'm trying to do even right now is when my gut tells me no, but it's something that my head is telling me, Kelly, you should do this, or, that's the economical thing to do. I'm trying to follow my gut. It's tough at times, but I'm trying so hard to say, you know what? This doesn't feel right, or maybe I'll try and do something else just because I've had other struggles in my life where I didn't follow my gut and it didn't work out. So may it be God, may it be, some sort of extra being that's like, Kelly, don't do that. But I'm trying my best to follow my gut and learn as I go. I think letting go of perfection is tough. And so when, I'm trying not to spend all day, all night, tweaking little things on my, social media platforms when it's only something that I would notice was wrong. When I think you pour your heart and soul into your business and trying to let go of perfectionism is one of the hardest things. I'm sure you've dealt with some of that yourself in one of them.
Yeah, it can be difficult. I think the longer you do it, though, eventually you find out that it doesn't make that big of a difference if it's perfect or just so. Then you're kind of like, okay, so is okay. I mean, of course, you always want to put your best foot forward, but you don't want to stress yourself too much that you don't get it done, right? It's just sitting there lingering.
Absolutely.
And speaking of, social media, of course, that's a big part today. It wasn't that big 12, 15 years ago. But what role do you feel social media plays in true growth for a business? Because to me, marketing is big. You have your traditional marketing, you have your digital marketing, social media marketing, you have all these things. But what role do you think social media plays in the true growth of a business?
Absolutely. I think social media is such a cool platform that businesses can jump on and show a little bit more behind the scenes, show a little bit more authenticity. Because again, people buy from people. So it's not like they're getting a brochure in the mail and it's beautiful, right? And everything isn't, checking all the boxes. But then you go on their social media account and you can see, a little behind the scenes of the team that you would be buying for, or you can, really interact with people. I like to say, keep social media social, because you want to interact and you want to collaborate. And even like the big companies, they have giant social media teams mainly because they want people to be able to reach out and connect, and then people will answer. And I think that's one thing that people are looking for too, is when they go to a brand or they're looking for something, social media has now become a form of a search engine. So they are, let's say someone is looking for, a marketing strategist. They go on any social media platform and search marketing strategist and see what comes up. And then they can really vet out whose personality from their social media accounts really jives with them and their business. So for me, social media plays an integral part of showing the human aspect of a brand.
I love that. So when you're working with your clients, are you placing things in buckets, or how do you frame it for them as far as what percentage of social media you're doing versus your traditional types of marketing? What are you looking at for them to determine that?
I have a lot of different clients. Some people come to me for just monthly strategy sessions, and they want to really just sit down and have an accountability buddy and say, Kelly, I don't know what's wrong. And we go and dive in the back end and kind of see what's not working or what has worked in the past that they can try again. And so for me, I always say, even from the beginning, when people come to me and they just want some brand help, you really want to look at your pillars as a company and your, I guess, not even just content pillars, but your core values. Because when you deal or when you have core values, that's when you can really dive in and say, on social media, I like to educate people. I like to show emotion. I like to engage. And if you can grab things that are in their core pillars, let's say they have a core pillar of authenticity, but let's say they're a car dealership, right? There's thousands of car dealerships all over the world, but what makes them stand out is, how their salespeople show up. Maybe they show up differently. Maybe the process of how you buy a car is completely different. It's kind of like niching down to the people who are looking for what you are selling and then kind of reverse engineering that into your messaging. So you really have to know your targets and you really have to know your core values because they stick out so much. But in a, I guess, percentage of how much marketing should be social media compared to email marketing, compared to even regular marketing where word of mouth, I think it really depends on the business. There are some people that say, you know what, I have an email list. I haven't touched it in 10 years. So I'm like, well, maybe we should start, right? I think email is such an avenue that even back when, one of my favorite movies is You've Got Mail, but even back when You've Got Mail started, people had email, right? People have had email for maybe 20 years. I was like
25 years now, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's different where even myself, there are some emails that I won't open, but other ones that entice me right away. And then I take notes of, Kelly, what sparked your interest? Like, how can I help my clients make emails like that, right? How can my emails myself do that? And so it's a lot of like, what are their goals? I always start with goals, core value, really like the deep-seated emotions of the brand before we start moving forward. Because for me, it's all about connecting with people. And then from there, you build the strategy of how. How are you going to connect with people? How are you finding your people? Some people might not have an email list at all, but they're getting plenty of clients just on social media. Or they send out one mailer a year, but that mailer a year is bringing in all of their clients, right? So it's kind of it's a tough, like blank. I don't build anything blanket.
Gotcha.
Sorry for my tangent, but
no, you're fine. You're fine. So you're really sitting down with each client individually to determine what their needs are, their core values, their brand strategy, what their brand says to their customer, what they want the brand to say to their customer. You're really creating something specifically for that client.
Yep.
That's very good.
I always say that I don't do anything cookie cutter, and I build a lot of marketing plans because for me, what's working for me when I post, I'll just give an example. I used to post 3 times a day on my social media. That is not attainable for someone else. And if it is, cool, right? You're like, I got this.
No, I'm like, I don't have that. I cannot post 3 times a day.
That's
I'm
tough.
on a struggle.
That's tough. And I think it's fun because I've been playing with different strategies myself. So then when people ask me how things went, how was my hashtag strategy, all of those things, I have solid evidence even on my own to say, well, I played with this and I played with this as just an easy way for people to see and learn and grow. And so I love that human connection aspect. I love to sit down with my clients and have a one-on-one conversation and say, what is important to you and what is important to your target? Because if they don't know either of those really, really well, I can't frame messaging around that. And I can't build a strategy that's going to help what they're selling shine on their own.
So speaking of marketing, how are you marketing your business to get more business?
That's actually a really good question. And I'm glad you asked because it's a little different today, as probably it would have been even just 2 years ago, is because Clubhouse came out. And I think Clubhouse is such a different platform. For those of you who don't know, Clubhouse is a platform where you can go and speak and hear from others all day long, all over the world, and it's audio only. And so it's like listening to a podcast, but you can like raise your hand and ask questions. And so for me, actually, Clubhouse has brought me a lot of clients because they're able to hear the passion in my voice. They're able to really kind of reach out. And so I would say Clubhouse, and then my Instagram is somewhere that people are finding organically and reaching out as well. So those are the two biggest buckets right now. But I love driving people to my website so they can really see like what I have built, what my packages are, all of that stuff. So it's kind of like a funnel of who's coming to talk to me because I want to be the face. I want people to reach out and really want to chat with me and learn more about not only what I have to offer, but what their favorite coffee beverage is, right? I want to make a connection with someone. And so that's first and foremost is hitting someone with a messaging, even if it's, in talking or in a social media platform, and then moving them to a place where we can actually chat. I give away free sessions all the time so then I can just get to know someone. Because if I was looking for a marketer, I would want to know for certain without paying any money that they are the marketer for me, right? I want to ping them with all the questions. I want to make sure that their core values match my core values just as a human being and all of that stuff. So for me, it's important to at least get my face out there and market myself in that kind of way, and then bring them back to me because I really want to chat and learn and love on other people.
Yeah, I think, well, we met on Clubhouse.
Yep.
And I think that your passion definitely shows through. And I also just like the Caffeine with Kelly. I'm a big coffee drinker.
Cheers.
I've already had 2 cups today. So right now I'm drinking water, but I do love coffee, and I love your energy when you express what it is you do and how passionate you are around that. And I also love the fact that you're not just focused on social media, because that is, though it's very important these days for a brand and for a company, it's not the only way,
right,
to market your business. Like I personally feel like you have to have different avenues, because there are some people who aren't on social media. Well, you still may want to sell that coffee to that person, so I love the fact that you're a full marketing strategist and not just one avenue.
Right. And I guess just another point to add is people learn differently. So some people might be on TikTok all day long and that's where they want to get their information. Other people might want an email. Other people might want to call, right? It totally depends on your company and your business and where you want to meet your customers or your clients at. And that's kind of where I start.
And some people want to land on your website. Some people are going to Google
Absolutely. They want to read. They want to take an hour and really read before, watching videos of yours or whatever it is. I think I bring a little bit different background to the table when it comes to marketing, because I'm one of those people that knew I wanted to be in marketing since like 7th or 8th grade. And I never wavered. My dad is a CFO at a company. And I remember going like, bring your daughter to school day or bring your daughter to work day. And so I went to work with him. And I remember he handed me a spreadsheet. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I sat in a meeting with him and all the executives, and I just colored it in. And I made it look really pretty. I color coordinated the X's and the Y axes and all the things that he had on there. And we left. We went to lunch after that meeting. And then he dropped me off at the marketing department. He's like, I really think this is where you need to be. And so I just hung out with the marketers for the rest of the day. And literally since then, all through high school, all through college, I never wavered what I wanted to do. Wow. And so even back then, social media wasn't even near what it is today. I think Facebook had just come out as like a college connection networking platform when I was in high school. And so it was very different. Back then we talked about in marketing classes, we didn't talk about social media as much, right? We talked about really organically where you're meeting your client and where was that in that time. And email was a big thing back then. But everyone was sending an email, right? So how did you stand out? Messaging is a big thing. Where are you pulling people from? Maybe your brochure is the same as your competitors, but maybe yours has some texture on the front, right? To set you apart. Right. Totally different things. And so I think when people first meet me, they think that, I started a couple of years ago just because social media blew up, but that's not it at all. And I have so much deep-seated love for marketing. It's kind of embarrassing when people ask me about it.
Well, the thing is, though, businesses are still buying billboards. Businesses are still buying brochures. Businesses are still building websites, and so
commercials. Yeah. All of the things.
All of that is exactly. All of that is so important. And again, social media is there. I don't think it's going anywhere, but you make the good point that it's about letting people into your space a little bit. That's what social media really does for you. But you still want those commercials and radio ads and whatever the gamut may be, whatever works for your company. So I think that's really important. What's the one thing or it can be 2 or 3, whatever you think, people should be thinking about when it comes to marketing their brand?
If someone came to me and said, give me one thing, I would say lead with empathy always, because you don't know what people are having. You don't know what day they're having. You don't know what their kids did in the morning to really, drive them off on a crazy day, right? You just don't know. I was listening to someone on Clubhouse this morning, and she was talking about, she was like, my kid has one thing to do in the morning before school. It's to grab his shoes. And he only grabbed one. And we made it all the way to school and he didn't have both shoes. And I was like, if she saw messaging, right, and it hit her the wrong way, you want to make sure that you always put the person first, because people buy from people, and empathy is so important in today's day.
Yes, empathy is very important. But yes, empathy is definitely key. And there's a lot of snafus that have been made over the years when it comes to marketing. People not always seeing the whole person, or not having enough people in the room to make smart decisions that don't offend people.
Right.
How do you help your clients avoid missteps?
Mm-hmm. I always say, before you publish something, right? Maybe it's not me physically publishing, but I'm helping them kind of guide their content strategy. The first thing that you, like, if they had posted and they were the first person to see it, would that trigger them in any way, shape, or form, besides something joyous, something to help them purchase, or something just emotional and effective? Maybe they want to click and learn more about that brand, because you're right. Not everyone has a full team of people that, are doing DE&I things, or doing, whatever it is to make sure that everyone is felt fairly and, messaging is clear and concise. I would say, first and foremost, make sure that what you are posting to the world not only goes with your brand, regardless of what that is, but you also want to make sure that if you were the first person to see it, take a step back for a couple minutes, come back to it before you post it and say, would that trigger anyone? Because you want to make sure that even if it does, right? Let's say, I don't really have a good example, but let's say it does, make sure you're on that with a comment. If someone says something about it negatively, you want to make sure that you show up then with empathy and with compassion, so that people know that you care for them, that you're there. I don't really have a very good example for that, but I always say, make sure you would be, if you were the first customer that knows nothing about your brand, that it always shines you in a good light, because that's important too, right? What if maybe someone found your post on a total whim? Yeah. Or maybe someone got your postcard and they'd never heard of your business before. You really want to make sure that the first thing they see is beneficial, and it really, maybe that's the start of your funnel, and it evokes an emotion with them to continue learning about you or continue buying from you.
And you said, I think you said D&I, or diversity and equity, right?
Absolutely. And inclusion. Yes.
Inclusion.
Absolutely.
Yes. I knew I was leaving out a word. Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That is so important today. I think we live in we live in a world that we all are kind of sensitive, because it's been a lot going on in the past.
It's been quite the year.
12 months. Yeah. It's been quite a year. So Kelly, is there anything keeping you up currently at night?
Oh, interesting. I would say, I think something that always hits my heart is that I know people like myself, right? I'm a new entrepreneur who also just got married. So I don't have to pay for my insurance right now because my husband has good insurance. I always think about, before I post something, that someone else who is a brand new entrepreneur has one extra bill that I do. And I always think to myself, Kelly, that girl is hustling just as hard as you, but she has one more thing to do, right? So that's why I like to post a lot about joy and positivity, because I was like, maybe if someone sees my post and they're having a bad day, or they, came in contact with something, that I can at least shine them a little bit of light on their life, regardless of what they're going through. And so that's something that keeps me up at night, because I'm like, you know what? My life is lovely, right? And I'm so blessed. And I count my blessings every single day. And I think I always get stuck on people who don't have that, or don't have the same lifestyle, or have to be stuck in that 9 to 5 because they have to pay their bills, or they have to do something. And right now I took that risk and was able to, because I saved money forever. But, some people don't have that as a luxury. And so that's something that keeps me up at night. I don't know if that really answers your question, but authentically me, that really touches my heart. And if I can throw joy at anyone's way at any time, please sign me up because I would love to do that.
No, if that's what keeps you up, that keeps you up. And I mean, if you think about it though, and I often think about this as we move into, this new year, well, now we're moving into second quarter, is how many more fruitful, thriving small businesses we can have if people weren't so concerned about health insurance.
Right.
That is such a huge thing that keep people tied to their jobs, to that desk or cubicle or 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I know everybody is not cut out for entrepreneurship. Everybody doesn't even have a desire to do that. And that's absolutely fine. But I do know that there are people who have the desire, who have the willpower, who have the knowledge and expertise to do it. But what keeps them there is health insurance.
Right.
Because they may have a chronic condition or something.
Right.
And so.
Which is devastating.
Yeah. It could make our economy a lot better if people did not have that worry. And so that's sometimes what I think about from the federal government standpoint is how can we help people thrive and start more small businesses if they just didn't have to worry about the health insurance part. And I was a person that once wrote a paper because I was an insurance major about not having socialized medicine. And I still don't 100% agree with socialized medicine. And I'm getting off on a tangent.
That's okay. I'm here for it.
But we need something to just help encourage people to grow and give their businesses a chance and not letting health insurance be a hindrance for that. So that's just kind of my thought. So
Is that what keeps you up at night or is there another thing?
It's interesting. Lately, I've been sleeping pretty well. I don't sleep a lot though. So when I do sleep, I sleep deeply. But for a long time, Kelly, honestly, what kept me up at night more than anything was financials, was cash flow, because I have a team of people. And I've had a team of 2, I've had a team of 18, and we've kind of moved back and forth between that number. We've ebbed and flowed over the past 18 years with, different head counts. And so for me, that's usually what would keep me up at night is that. But honestly, this past year, our team is really, really small. We're running really, really lean. We did have the opportunity to get PPP to keep that lean team on, which has been very helpful. And so I honestly don't have that stress anymore. COVID has really made us have to rethink our business, reinvent ourselves, pivot, all of those words, work with less. Yep. And it's okay. It can be hard sometimes and tiring because I'm working in the business more than I'm working on the business these days. But it has helped me be able to free up payroll a little bit, which is helpful because when someone else's livelihood is reliant on you, and I know you're not there yet, but not yet. But when you know that, it's weighty. It's very heavy.
Yeah, it's a different type of, brick on your shoulder, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard it said before, the biggest struggles or the biggest challenges bring the biggest rainbow at the end, mainly because you sit there and you can really, really learn from what you're going through and make sure that either it doesn't happen again or maybe there's a better way you can do it in the future. See the light at the end of the tunnel, one might say.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question. And you've kind of answered this maybe a little bit, but you might answer it a little differently this time. Besides coffee, what gets you up in the morning?
Besides coffee and Jesus, I would say, honestly, I would say my support system, because that's something not just like my husband who's right next to me, but I have friends and family and colleagues and a network of people that know my passion and really, really believe in me. And that just helps me every day to continue. And it's so exciting when even like a family member, when, you have family members that have no idea what you do or why you do it, but even a random family member that's like, hey, I just saw your post. That's awesome. Or literally anything. It brings me so much joy that what I can do brings joy and light and knowledge for others. Because for me, if you start a business trying to just make a quick buck or make money, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to fail. But you would probably not be as fruitful as if you're really serving others and your passion is really helping someone else, feed a good need that they have. And so I would say my support system and the fact that I'm just so thankful that I get to serve people in my marketing knowledge and my silly videos about joy, because everyone needs some joy. Everyone needs a dance party every once in a while, right?
Yes, I love it.
And everyone needs coffee.
And everyone needs coffee,
right.
Or at least some type of warm beverage. Tea. I like tea too.
I do too.
But, yeah. Well, I heard someone the other day make the statement, working from a servant posture. And I really love that.
I like that.
Because, yeah, I've always done that in my business because I always feel like I want to give you the best. I want to make sure that when you walk out, you are happy, your needs have been met. You're going to tell a friend how great it was and all of that. But I love to actually equate the word servant posture with a business. You hear the phrase servant leadership a lot, or servant leader, but to have that be your whole business, have a servant posture. I really, really like that a lot.
I'm going to write that down. I really like that. I think that's great. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if it's just little things, like even if you create a new freebie, but maybe it won't serve your 90%, but it'll serve somebody. Like that's important then, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me in starting this podcast, it was kind of like if I could touch one person, if I could make one person do something that's positive or make their business better, then that's good. Like it's a good thing. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anything I can do to help. Well, Kelly, can you tell the Stitch for Success audience how they can reach you?
Absolutely. I'm, again, Kelly with Caffeine with Kelly, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but when I do, they're usually just funny gifs about coffee. So if you're into that, follow me. But please either jump over to my website, which is www.caffeinewithkelly.com. Contact me, apply to work with me, and I'd love to connect more. So if anyone is listening to this, just let me know you came from this podcast, and I'd love to have another conversation and collaborate and connect.
I want to thank Kelly so much for joining the Stitch for Success podcast. And Kelly left us with a lot of good insight. She left us with a few questions to ask ourselves as we look at our marketing and branding journey. What are your goals? What are your core values? Who's your target? And what do you want your brand to say? Now, if you need help with this, Kelly gave you her contact information and it is also in the show notes. So you can always contact her directly and she would be more than happy to help you with this. Another thing to remember is email is still very important. So social media is great, but you want to get your customer off of social media and into your atmosphere. You want to get them into your email marketing list. Again, thanks so much to Kelly for joining us. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I know this episode was a little bit longer than usual, but it was a lot of good information and I just could not find a great place to split it up and break it into 2 episodes. So I hope you have gotten some great takeaways and I want to just thank you so much for listening today. Also remember, I always want to hear from you. So please feel free to send me feedback. You can direct message me on Instagram. My Instagram is @StitchedForSuccess. You can also follow the Stitched for Success Facebook group. And remember, I am on Clubhouse. We have a room every single Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern where we discuss social media. Thanks so much again for joining me today. Have a great one. Oh, also don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share the podcast with a friend. Again, thank you so much for listening. And again, have a great one.